Hi, and welcome once again to Cooking for the Yum of It. In today's episode, I'm going to be preparing a shepherd's pie. And yes, I am using real ground lamb, not ground beef, ground turkey, ground pork, ground chicken, ground anything. If you use any other meat other than ground lamb, technically it cannot be called a shepherd's pie. It is called a cottage pie. But I'm using ground lamb, so it's shepherd's. I will also be preparing, in my Instant Pot, a dish of buttered cabbage to serve on this as a side dish. So let's get started. Now the first thing I'm going to have to do is preheat the pan for a couple of minutes before I add the oil. And then after the oil is in there, I will crumble in the ground lamb. So let's go on to the next step. Okay, now we add the olive oil. It's 2 tablespoons. And our lovely, lovely ground lamb. Woo. Now you begin breaking it up. I don't know if you can hear me over the sizzling. I hope you can. So I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing, but when I come back, the lamb will be completely browned and crumbled up and ready to go for the next step. Okay, now what we're going to do is add, we need 2 teaspoons of thyme. Sprinkle that in there. It looks like after this I will be out of time. No pun intended, but if it made you laugh, pun intended. So, now the recipe calls for just 2 cloves of garlic, which is the equivalent of 1 teaspoon. But I like garlic, so I am going to add 2 teaspoons for a total of 4 cloves of garlic. Okay, let's get that going in there. Stir it and let's keep breaking up the meat. Get the thyme and the garlic stirred in there. Now, I originally found this recipe from the Delia Smith How to Cheat at Cooking book. But I found the book to be impractical for Americans, at least for this American, because many of the ingredients mentioned were not available in the United States, and all of the measurements and heating temperatures are done in the metric system. So I did a little research on my own and found another easy way to make shepherd's pie, which is the recipe I'm showing you today. Okay, let that go for a second there, and I'll be right back. Okay, now the next step is to scoop out the meat with a slotted spoon. Set that aside. Let me turn down the heat a little. I don't want it to blow up in my face. Oh, this smells so good. The garlic and the thyme, even the cooking of the grease just smells so wonderful. Okay. give me a second here. Okay, now our next step is to pour off the, let's turn that back up there. Pour off the grease. Except for 2 teaspoons, which I add back to the, let's see, I'm sorry, 2 tablespoons, my bad. I haven't made this for a while, so I'm a little rusty. So this is going to have 2 tablespoons and a little bit more. But, you know, don't tell anyone. You know, if you make a mistake, as long as people enjoy eating your food, it doesn't matter. Okay, now we're going to get 2 tablespoons of flour, and this is going to be fun for me because I'm going to try something new. And instead of just putting it in there, I'm going to use a sifter. That way it doesn't clump as much. Look at that lovely, lovely sauce. Now you're going to have to, let's get the rest of that in there. So the sifter wasn't as good as an idea as I thought, but it's still a good thing to have. Now, back up a little. Now we'll be adding 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Get in there. Put my flour away. Now, normally this wood can have onion in it, but being the nitwit that I am, I forgot to get the onion until it was too late because I'd already started cooking. Okay, but you know, it doesn't have to have onion. Some people don't like onion. Okay, now we've added the tomato paste. We will be adding 2 cups of beef stock. I did not make the beef stock by myself. I owe this to Swanson. Okay. 1 cup, and here it sizzled. And that's 2 cups. Lovely Swanson beef stock. Okay. Ooh. Now you may have to push the clumps of tomato paste off to the side so you can smush them, and so that they'll mix better. Another thing we can do, if I can find it, here we go. Is the whisk. You can whisk it a little. Add a little pressure as you're whisking it so you can get all those brown bits off the bottom of the pan. Okay, let that set for a second as I get the next ingredient. 1 tablespoon of beef stock. Not beef stock, sorry. Lee & Perrins Worcestershire sauce. They've been selling their Worcestershire sauce since 1835. Isn't that amazing? Okay. 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. Now I hope my friend Anne, if you're watching, Anne, I hope she doesn't mind that I did not add the onions. Like I said, I forgot until it was too late. But this is a good recipe. I enjoy shepherd's pie, so I can always make it again, and remember to not forget the onions that time. Now the next ingredient is half a teaspoon of soy sauce. Now I got the Kikkoman low sodium. You don't have to use low sodium. I just trying to make this as healthy as I can, I suppose. Cut back on the salt and whatnot. Okay, now our next step is to add back the cooked beef. The lamb. Last time I made this, it was cottage pie because I used ground beef, not ground lamb. So I got to remember I'm using lamb this time, so it is cottage pie, shepherd's pie, not cottage, because I am using ground lamb. Okay, and my next step, after I have added the beef, Worcestershire sauce, add a little salt and a little pepper. Okay. 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And I'm going to add, how much salt do I want to add? Oh, I'm almost out of salt. Salt, this is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay. Now what we're going to do is let this boil until it's nice and thick. I'm not sure exactly how long that's going to take, but I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. When we come back, it will be time for the next step. Sorry, I forgot to mention that once it's reached a boil, turn the heat down to low. I have mine set on number 1 on my stove, then you wait until it thickens. I'm going to come back in about 5 minutes, see how thick it's gotten, and if that's not ready, I'll come back 5 minutes after that. Oh, and one more thing, while I'm waiting for that, I am going to start the oven preheating. Oh, all right. Set the time for, going to preheat your oven to 425 degrees. Hopefully by the time it's reached the correct temperature, it will be time, the beef mixture will be ready to go. Okay. I didn't keep a specific watch on the time, except the time that went into the meat mixture here for my shepherds. But it looks nice and looks good and thick now. So our next step is to add the peas and carrots. Let's get these. We're going to need ooh, look at all those peas and carrots. Stir that in there. This will also help thicken stuff up. Let that simmer just a little bit more for about 2 minutes. While we're doing that, we're going to prepare the casserole bowl. Some non-stick spray. Okay, let me get my other can. 1 minute. Okay, the can has been sprayed. You can turn that off now. And let's bring this over here so it's in camera range. And you pour that into the casserole. Just spread that out as best you can. And oh, don't forget those brown bits, those little extra bits of flavor. Remember, you paid for the food. Don't let a single gram of it go to waste. Now our next step, now here's the idea that I got from Delia Smith's book. Instead of using mashed potatoes, because she used instant mashed potatoes, I am going to use some tater tots to make. Turn that off. I don't need to hear that. Okay. I made this once before, well, years ago. Only instead of regular potato, I used sweet potato tater tots. Always remember, if your food ever comes to you at a restaurant and it's attractively arranged, someone's fingers have been all over it. Now, one oven mitt, and approximately 20 to 25 minutes later, we will have ourselves a nice shepherd's pie. Now, as my shepherd's pie is cooking, I thought as a good side dish, I would make a buttered cabbage with my Instant Pot. So let's get started. Okay, so first thing we need, as the name would imply, is a nice head of cabbage. Now, you can do what you want, but I always like to take the core out. To me, it tastes, you know, it's got a weird texture. It's kind of stringy and a little bit bitter. So I always take out the core. Okay, I don't want to slice off my fingers. I always take out the core before going on to our next step. Okay. Take out that icky old core. Next step is to chop your cabbage. And add that to the Instant Pot, which is over here and out of camera range at the moment. Okay. Oh, a little bit of as much of this up as we can. Now, again, as the name implies, this is buttered cabbage, so we will also be adding 1/4 cup of butter. Move this over here so you can get a better view. Put that in there. Now we need, I'm using unsalted butter, but like I said, I don't like to use a lot of salt, but we're going to use some. A little bit of salt. I like pepper. Pepper. I'm like that character, I can't remember which one it was, for Alice in Wonderland. She likes to put pepper in everything. Some white to give you a fright. Some brown to start the tears rolling down. Now, the recipe originally called for chicken broth, but I had so much of the beef broth left from when I'm making the shepherd's pie that I figure why not use beef broth as a substitute instead. Okay, now we get the lid. Place it on seal. Plug it in. Plug it in. Sorry, you got that view of my arm. I went to the gym today. Look big and nice and big and beefy. Nice big beefy bicep. And now we place it in the Instant Pot, and we will be cooking on high pressure for 6 minutes. Pressure cook, 5, 6. And when we come back, it's going to take a little bit longer than 6 minutes. That's the 6 minutes is only after it reaches full pressure. Again, I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing, but when we come back, the cabbage will be done. Okay, looks like my shepherd's pie is done. I'm just waiting now for the cabbage, so just give that a few minutes, and when we come back, dish up and eat. And there we have it. Shepherd's pie and buttered cabbage. Now it's time to eat, eat, eat! Yum! Okay. Let's take some of that. Mmm. Mmm. Oh yeah. This is good. Very, very good. And the cabbage, still very hot, but also quite tasty. Very good. So, that was my shepherd's pie and cabbage. I hope if you liked it, please hit like, and I hope you'll also subscribe. And always remember, eat and enjoy. See you next time.